Wow, I feel depressed after that presentation by PETA.
Why? I thought you were a vegetarian. I thought you were all about animal rights.
I am. It's not that. It's the way PETA degrades and objectifies women in their campaigns. It angers and depresses me. Why do they have to degrade us like that? Aren't we degraded enough as it is?
Okay, you mean because the women they use are always naked or almost naked. But how would you propose that they campaign around the premise that a vegan diet is healthy instead? It doesn't seem to make sense to do that without referring to the obvious physical aspects of health.
PETA's focus is on cruelty to animals, not on health aspects. So even within their own premise it doesn't make sense. It's not just that they are naked. In fact, it's not even that they are naked. It's that they are sexually objectified. You can have non-sexually objectifying depictions of naked people, you know. And they aren't using representative women, they are using model and porn star types. As far as health goes, surely they can refer to the obvious physical aspects of health without sexually objectifying and dehumanizing women. Why are the only people in the sexually objectifying adverts women? Why no men? It's sexist.
Well, I don't see what the big deal is. I cannot picture myself being offended or depressed, even if it were males in precisely analogous situations. I genuinely cannot picture any kind of advert that dealt with the health aspects around this that people like yourself would be happy with.
People like myself. What are you referring to? The fact that I am a human being who doesn't like to see marginalized groups dehumanized? That I'm a self-respecting woman? As a woman, everywhere I turn I get the message that women are sex objects, not real human beings. They are just objects of sexual recreation for men. PETA could depict the health benefits of the lifestyle and not sexually objectify women. In fact, that would be a much more successful campaign, because while alienating women, these sexist ads aren't converting any men to vegetarianism. What made you want to be vegetarian?
I guess I started hearing about factory farming and then I saw this film Meat Your Meat. I was pretty disgusted and depressed by the reality of it. Seeing the abuse and torture that goes on in those places, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and continue to eat meat. After learning about the environmental impact of eating meat, I decided to go for it. So I guess you're right, at least for me, these PETA campaigns with sexualized images of women had no effect on my decision.
It's not just the degradation of having to see yourself portrayed this unrealistic way, either, which is harmful enough to women and girls' self-image. It's that these dehumanizing, objectifying portrayals propagate sexist and misogynist views about women which underpin discrimination and violence against us. Their ads have also been racist. They had one with black men hanging from a tree. What the fuck? Historically marginalized and persecuted groups don't need more dehumanizing or objectifying depictions of themselves. All it does is continue to spread and propagate the notion that they are less than. These adverts are not just sexist. They are high propaganda. They had another advert of a breast-implanted woman with lines drawn all over her naked body with words such as breast and thigh, like those chart chefs have that show the different parts of a side of beef. It's showing woman as a piece of meat to be chopped up, and it is sexualizing this image of violence too. That is hatred. Perhaps the reason you can't imagine it is because people are often blind to their own privilege. You have not lived the daily subjugating experience it often is to live in our society as a woman, never mind a black woman, so when you try to imagine an advert with a sexually objectified man, the attitudes and acts of hate and violence which depictions like that underpin is not in your mind. Because men are not a marginalized or persecuted group.
Okay, I hear you, but I am still having trouble imagining it.
Maybe because when you try to imagine yourself in the position, you imagine just one, or some objectifying advertisements, about as many as we've seen today. And it doesn't seem that bad to you. You think, I could live with that. But the reality of the situation for women and girls is that they live every day of their lives surrounded and bombarded in 360 degrees with this crap. It invades and poisons almost every aspect of their lives. And that's just media imagery, mind you. That's aside from the violence, harassment, and interpersonal discrimination, which we also deal with regularly, and which attitudes are promulgated by these hateful portrayals.
All right, I am starting to see what you are saying. I never think of myself as privileged. I'm just a normal guy. But perhaps you're right. Perhaps I have been blind to my own privilege.
Imagine yourself as who you are, but if you lived in a society that pressured you in 9 million ways to be ecstatic all of the time, and that if you weren't ecstatic, trying to be ecstatic, or pretending and giving the appearance that you were ecstatic, then the message you got was that you aren't really a man. That is, your entire identity would be called into question. And you would be shamed and made to feel like a complete loser, and that no one would want you. And you weren't just told this in 360 degrees by the media, but by the opposite sex, everywhere, on the street, at work, in relationships, etc. Can you imagine what a terrible burden it would be to try to give the appearance of being ecstatic all of the time? It's lunacy. And yet our society well-nigh defines woman as sexy. If a woman isn't acting or looking sexy, she is basically worthless, according to our society. Add to that a rape conviction rate of 6% and you can see how frustrating it is for women and girls to be bullied, because that is exactly what it is, bullying, by these depictions everywhere.
I guess you're right. I feel like such a douche now for being so oblivious to all of this. Thank you for opening my eyes to a point of view other than my own. It's good to be reminded that reality is wider than our own narrow slices of experience. I don't want to be sexist or condone the dehumanization of anyone. I'm sorry you have to deal with so much hurtful bullshit. Thanks for letting me know how it is for women. I will think about this and try to see the world through your eyes more. I'm sure I will benefit from it by becoming more enlightened and wise. Namaste.
Namaste.